What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 10, episode 14, and let me just say this. I see the shift. Y'all really liking Angel right about now, or some of y'all feel sorry for her. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. I'm not. I am not. I know a couple of y'all are trying to rewrite history and act like we didn't see the interactions that we saw, or at least what I saw, but I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. It's okay for you to like Angel, but let's deal in facts, all right? And I'm gonna still stick to my opinions, okay? Because I'm 3 for 3. I told y'all about Bose, I told y'all about Bronwyn, and I told y'all about Katie, and Katie ain't even with the network anymore. They let that lady go. So, yeah, that's where we at. But let's get into this review. All right, y'all. So y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy just a little bit. And I just have two things I want to talk to you guys about. So first up, y'all already know, if you haven't seen, I did a standalone spicy corner where I talked about Angel being on Watch What Happens Live, as well as her press tour. We talked about the reunion seating chart, and I also talked about this update and Ashley throwing Gizelle under the bus with this whole her messing around with Sharice's son, and then Mia backed up over both of them. Okay, so if you're interested in that, the link will be in the description box below. Here is the thumbnail. Okay, now moving on, let's talk about this new news about the Ultimate Girls road trip. So y'all already know Nene is coming back to Miss Bravo, and I'm actually excited. I know some people are like, why? But I'm like, if they're celebrating 20 years, I feel like you can't celebrate 20 years of Bravo, not Bravo, but Real Housewives being on Bravo without Nene. I like, look, I had to turn in my laminated stand card for Nene, especially them last season she was on TV, but I'm happy for her. I mean, she had to eat some humble pie, and now she back, okay? And I hope she gives us at least some new memes and some cute little one-liners, okay? But the cast was released. So Vicky Gunvalson, Luann de Lesseps, Portia Williams, Teresa Giudice, Kyle Richards, Gizelle Bryant, and Lisa Barlow will be the core cast. But it seems as though this is legit a road trip. So they're going from city to city, and we're supposedly supposed to see at least 60. That's what I saw online. But we're supposed to see at least 60 different housewives, okay? I will say, I'm actually surprised that they didn't add anybody from Miami. I'm like, so Alexia was busy. I know for a fact Adriana would have did it. Lisa, you had Adriana, Lisa, Larsa. Who else? Adriana, Lisa, Larsa, Alexia, Marisol. Like, you ain't want to call any of them. I'm like really surprised that they didn't add Miami. But this is your cast. Okay, so let's get into this review. All right, y'all. So let's get into this episode. Okay, so it opens up, and the girls are still in Colorado. It's only day one of the trip, and we already starting off with shenanigans. Okay, so if you remember how the last episode ended, it ended with basically Angel calling for a company meeting. She said, "We're gonna get some things straight before we continue on this trip." So at the end of last episode, it ended with them all being in the basement looking at Wendy's room, and Gizelle and Ashley being angry because they do not like that they're sharing a room. On top of that, Gizelle is mad that there is no bathroom and their beds are twin size beds. They not even giving the college twin extra long. Okay. And so she over it. So when they were leaving the basement and going upstairs, Gizelle ends up saying, like, I don't even know why she doing this to us. And Monique is like, girl, she getting her lick back. Did you not forget what y'all did? And Giselle's like, what did we do to her? And Monique is like, did you get amnesia? Eviction, girl, you said she got evicted. And Giselle's like, but she did get evicted. And so as they're walking out of the basement, you hear Angel say, I did not get evicted. So like, stop saying that. But then Ashley chimes in and she was like, well, we have other information that says otherwise. And so that is why she's called this meeting, because Angel was like, girl, you gonna tell me this information or we not gonna have a trip because I'm gonna shut it all the way down. Okay. So she's like, what is this other information to prove that I got evicted? Where is it? So then Ashley and Gizelle turned their attention to Wendy. And I said, I know you lying. I know that y'all are not using that bit of gossip that Wendy gave you guys when y'all went to dinner as your evidence to prove that Angel got evicted. I said, this is stupid. This is, and if I was Angel, I would feel dumb entertaining this situation because clearly you didn't get evicted. Isn't getting evicted like an eviction's like public record? I ain't never been evicted, and I pray to God I never am. Okay, but normally, if the state or wherever you're staying puts it on your door, doesn't that mean like it's like public record, you know? So I'm just kind of like, if you say you got proof, girl, I show me public records. Like, and this is why I can never get behind people saying that Gizelle and Ashley are so iconic or they, they're top tier housewives because they're not. Because at least if we were on Miami, Atlanta, hell, I'll even say Beverly Hills, and Orange County, even Salt Lake City, other franchises, if someone said they got proof, more than likely they would give us something. At least Angie gonna pull out a stupid scroll, but something. But you using gossip as a way to legitimize what you're saying is so dumb to me. It's so dumb. And so Wendy basically tells the group as they're sitting at this company meeting that basically she has a friend that's a realtor that told her that Angel reached out to her and basically said that they were moving to the area and that they were looking for a home. They wanted a home that looks like the rent is $14,000 a month, but they only wanted to pay $1,000 a month. And everyone is like, girl, ain't nothing in the DMV area $1,000 a month. Nothing. What are you talking about? You have Tia being like, girl, well, why is this person like telling your business? And Wendy, it sounds like you're lying because you told Gizelle and Ashley that they were looking for a house that looks like it was $50,000 a month, but they were only willing to pay like $2,000 or $2,500 a month. So which one is it, and why are the numbers changing, girl? So as time goes on, as they're having this conversation, Angel jumps up and she's like, ha, 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 ha. And I said, Angel, you are giving me secondhand embarrassment if you don't sit down with them capri jean pants on and stop it. Because she could have just laughed in her seat. This is how I know Angel. I don't know if Angel is ready to be a housewife or if she just doesn't know how to really banter with people. Because I was like, you would have just done better just laughing in your seat, but standing up being like, ha, ha. I was like, sit down. You're making me uncomfortable. Okay. So she is basically laughing, saying that whatever your friend told you was a lie. It was a lie. So then you end up hearing, I think Tia say, well, she's an awful realtor. And I think that's when Kiarna says, yeah, because you can't get nothing in that area, nothing for $1,000. So then Wendy is like, no, actually, she's a great realtor. So then in the confessional, Wendy's like, I don't think like the person I was talking to was lying. She was like, I don't think the realtor has any reason to lie. And on top of that, she's not the only one that has said those things. But I'm like, Wendy, who else is saying this other than the lady you said you talked to? Okay. So then it seems as though Wendy and Angel actually are talking about the same person. Angel ends up saying, I don't know if she's upset that she didn't get the job. And so Wendy looks, so she was like, okay, so we are talking about the same person and I'm not lying. So then Angel is like, yeah, we're talking about the same person. And Ashley and Gizelle was like, girl, nobody called you a liar and you're right. So you're good. So I think it was Stacy that ends up saying, well, why don't we call the realtor up? Like, why don't we call her up? And then Wendy was like, yeah, why don't we call her up? So then I guess Wendy was getting nervous because it seems as though they are talking about the same person, but maybe like Wendy's trying to spin a narrative. But Wendy gets an attitude or gets a little snippy with Stacy where she's like, when we asked you to call TJ, you didn't want to call him. So there's that. So they flash back to the reunion when they try to get Stacy to call TJ and she wouldn't do it. So in the confessional, Stacy is saying with personal relationships, you might need to take a pause before you contact them. But when it's business, you need to straighten things out. And she was like, why not take this moment to clear things up? Okay. So then this is where Angel ends up saying, my business is slated to open in 2026, Wanderlust Outdoors Ethos, which is confusing to me because I thought they have been doing this for years. The way in which Angel speaks about Wanderlust, she speaks about it as if her and Bobby have been doing these luxury trips and excursions and camping trips in the woods for at least 2 to 3 years. So were the pictures that they've been showing us of Angel like their trial runs with friends? Because now I'm confused, like legit. Like and I'm not trying to be shady, because what do you mean? Or maybe this is a new branch because this says Wanderlust East. So maybe they're trying to open up a new one in Maryland, in the DMV area. Maybe that's what it is. Cause I was like, y'all been acting like this been going on for years. I'm confused. Okay. So then Tia's in her confessional saying, girl, you can't get nothing for $1,000, maybe in Nebraska. So this kind of sounds outlandish to me. So Angel's like, okay, so now that we got that cleared up, now it's time for us to have a mindful moment. So Tia was like, that wasn't a mindful moment. And then that's when Monique was like, no, girl, that was a messy moment. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So while everyone is heading outside to do like breathing exercises and stretching, you have Gizelle and Stacy still sitting on the couch. So Gizelle takes this time to ask Stacy, like, how's TJ? And Stacy's response to her was like, well, I don't know, but I can tell you how Timu is. I said, good answer, Stacy. Because how many times she has to tell you guys she don't talk to that man, but they're in a good place. And she with her husband now. I mean, well, her ex-husband. But that was a good answer, Stacy. So the ladies are sitting out on the deck doing the breathing exercises, and everyone is making note how it's giving like camp counselor from Angel because she's not partaking in the breathing exercises. It just seems as though she's monitoring them, and people are kind of uncomfortable. Like I said, they're sitting outside, and we see the girl we saw earlier by the name of Bianca, which she is like, I guess, a yoga instructor and a mindful coach. So she passes out lavender to all the ladies. They're sniffing it, and she's telling them to breathe in a couple of times and then like, shake everything out, and they're doing like jazz hands. I was actually surprised to see Stacy, because Stacy just looked irritated. She didn't even do the jazz hands. She was like, girl, I want champagne. Like, what are we doing? And so Wendy's in her confessional also being like, girl, I'm kind of tired of doing this. Like, when we gonna have some fun? Like, and I'm with them. Like, I know Angel wants to be zen and all of that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if the group of people you're with are not on the same wavelength as you, then I need you to switch it up, girl. You got to switch it up, because if we're on a girls trip, girl, I want to get drunk. I maybe smoke a little. We in Colorado. It's legal. Smoke it up, okay? Let's go shopping. Take me horseback riding. I don't like fishing, but I'll do it on the girls trip. Like, let's do things. All this breathing in and breathing out, I could do at the house. Very much. I could do that at the house. So Kiarna starts crying again, and everyone is just like, girl. And the way that Wendy was looking at her is the way in which I would be looking at Kiarna, like, girl, what is wrong? Are you okay? What's wrong with you? Is something going on? So they all start laughing about that. So then after they're done with the whole breathing and shaking out everything, Bianca, the instructor, ends up asking everybody what are the intentions that they want for this group. In a roundabout way, everybody says the same thing except Gizelle. More like having fun, getting to know each other better, and opening up more, and trying to enjoy each other in the group. But Gizelle ends up saying, I want a room with a bathroom. That's what I want. Now, when Angel ends up saying that she is looking forward to getting to know the ladies better, when she said that is her intention for the group, Ashley points out that, like, Angel has said that multiple times, and they do flashbacks when they were in Nevis, and then when they were at the polo match. So you were saying that 10 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, and now we're here. So it does seem like, even though Angel in her interviews, and I did talk about that in the spicy corner, has made mention that she did make an effort, it seems like the effort, either one, was not good enough, or you really didn't try. Because why are you constantly saying the same thing about getting to know the ladies better? Either you have to accept that they don't want to get to know you, or there's something in your approach that is not welcoming enough to where people want to open up to you. Okay? So Ashley is talking about, she keeps saying that she wants to get to know us better, so hopefully we do get to know each other better, because we need to. So we then end up seeing everybody kind of like break away from the patio and go inside. We see Gizelle, Monique, and Ashley having a conversation, and Gizelle is really over it. Like, she does not want to be in the house. She even tells Ashley, it's nothing against you, I don't mind sharing a room, but like, I don't want to. Okay, and they flash back to other cast trips they have been on where Gizelle has not been happy with the accommodations, and that was in 2016 and 2022. I will say though, Gizelle is acting like this is her first cast trip where she hasn't liked her accommodations. I was like, girl, suck it up, Buttercup. Like, it's not that deep. Now, Gizelle thinks because she hosted one good trip that she's the grandata of hosting trips, but girl, let's not. So she basically says that when they were in Nevis, girl, everybody had their own room, even Stacy, and each room had a bathroom. And she was expecting a lot out of Miss Wondernuts. That's what she calls Angel, because she was like, I expected the same out of Angel. And she's like, right now, I'm trying to figure out who I need to sleep with to get a room with a bathroom, because this is unacceptable. We then see Wendy and Stacy join the conversation. And Wendy is like, are y'all really about to leave? Like, what's going on? So then Angel and the rest of the ladies join the conversation. And I think Monique ends up asking, like, well, how many rooms do you have at your house? And that's when Angel explains she has 6. And so Monique's like, well, Gizelle can't be over there. Like, if you got 6 rooms. And Angel's like, well, no, one room is Bobby's man cave. And Monique was like, she could sleep in there. And I'm like, Angel, first of all, you explaining yourself too much. You already said that you only wanted certain people at your house. Then be committed to having only those people at your house. I would have told them, I only slated my house for 2 people. I picked the 2 people. Either you could stay here or you could get a hotel. Either way, y'all not showing up to my house unless I want you to be there. It is what it is, okay? So she ends up explaining that she only has room for Kiarna and Tia. And so Jazzy is like, so when did you and Tia get close? So Tia says in the confessional that because Kiarna and her have gotten close, automatically she has started to get close to Angel. So it is what it is. Jazzy's like, well, Tia's some alleged realtor. Maybe she trying to pull her first sale out of Bobby and Angel. But I'm like, she's not an alleged realtor, Jazzy. She worked for Sotheby's, girl. She not alleged. Okay. So then Tia's like, we should get going, because she can see that Kay really needs to take a drink and get some fluids. And Kay was looking a little disheveled, and you could tell, because when she was in the car, her wig was up like here. I said, ooh, girl, somebody pat it down. She tired. Mama is tired and flushed. So the ladies that are leaving with Angel are piling in the car to head to her house. The rest of the ladies that are staying at the house are having a conversation. So we actually end up seeing 2 conversations happening at once, okay? So we see the ladies that are riding with Angel to her house talking about the conversation that they just had, the office meeting, and we see the other ladies talking about it as well. So I think as Tia's getting into the car, Angel makes a statement where she was like, that was very unprofessional, and that realtor is really bad. Like, really bad. So then you end up seeing Monique say, I'm gonna be honest and sorry to say, but I would have called the realtor because I would have tried to get some things straight. And Wendy was like, yes, because she doesn't feel like she needed to call the realtor because she's not the one who started the story. The realtor is. So she was like, she should have called her. Then Gizelle ends up making a comment where she was like, you wouldn't get defensive over the word evictions or eviction if you haven't been evicted. No, Gizelle, some people feel like that's a shameful thing that happens to people. Okay, people do get embarrassed by it. And also you're lying on her, so she does have a right to be upset. But again, if I was Angel, I wouldn't give a damn about them talking about me getting evicted. Because who is Gizelle and Ashley? Like like what? You know? So it goes back to the other ladies riding to Angel's house, and you hear Tia say, like, that's extremely unprofessional. She says that, I've signed NDAs. I've had clients have me sign NDAs. She was like, but even with my clients that I don't have NDAs with, I would not be talking ill about them. Like, I wouldn't do that. So that's kind of messed up. So then Angel was like, they really thought they had like a gotcha moment, and it really made them look stupid, which it did. And that's why I'm like, Angel, that's why you shouldn't put stock in what they're saying about you, because look what just happened, So then Angel talks about how she keeps her business tight to herself. She also says it feels like they just want to make up issues with me based off of jealousy. And she goes on to say that they're staying in a $1.6 million home, which doesn't matter if it smells like sewage and there's no running water consistently, girl. We got to talk about that. And she was like, there's this energy of not being grateful or showing any gratitude. And she says that she's a humble lady in her confessional, Angel, and she's a consummate, eternal opportunist, which I was like, girl, that's a lie, because you've been very down in the dumps. Okay. But okay. What I will say is, I hate when people automatically say, oh, they don't like me because they're jealous of what I have. I've always been that way since like middle school, because I feel like that is when that word was thrown around so much when I was growing up. And I always had the mindset that saying people are jealous of you is low hanging fruit, in the sense of, what specifically are they jealous of? Like, put a name on it. I also feel like going straight to saying that people are jealous of you stops you from actually dissecting your own actions to see why that person doesn't like you. Like, is it because of a weird interaction that you guys have had? Or is your energy weird towards them? Are you friends with someone that they don't like? Like, I'm that type of person, but I also feel like it comes with me overthinking a lot of things. So I've had people say like, oh, Leah, they're jealous of you because of like this. And I'm like, but is that really something to be jealous of? And then when I look at this cast, I'm like, what specifically does Angel have for these ladies to be jealous? And that's an honest question. Like, it doesn't seem like, and let's look at Wendy, Gizelle, and Ashley. Wendy has a husband that I think Eddie is cuter than Bobby. Now, Bobby do got the body frame that I like, okay? But I do think Eddie is cuter than Bobby, but she has a man. Gizelle is not, there's no shortage of men happening with Gizelle. She over here having secret boyfriends, but it also doesn't seem like Gizelle wants to remarry or really be with a man, to be honest. And Ashley want white dick. So I don't think they're jealous of Bobby. I don't think that. I was like, maybe it's the money. But it doesn't seem like Gizelle is hurting for money. Maybe Ashley, and with the situation with Wendy, maybe that. But then even when I hone in on the Wendy aspect, if you look at the way in which Wendy shows money through her glam and her outfits, Angel doesn't do that. So it's like, what does she have to be jealous of when Angel is not giving us fashion moments the way that Wendy is? And maybe Ashley is jealous of the money, but then again, I'm like, Ashley want to be a sugar baby. So I don't know, but I'm just like, maybe I just feel like when people say others are jealous of them, it's low hanging fruit, because it stops you from dissecting your behavior. But I feel like I'm about to go on a tangent, so let me pivot. All right. So we go back to the other ladies, and they're talking, and they're pretty much like, girl, I'm not understanding why we weren't at her house. So we see the conversation continue on with the girls saying that, the best part of the girls trip is when we're all like hanging out and chilling all together in our pajamas and just having a good time. But they all are making mention how they don't like that the group is separated. Stacey even points out that Angel's not really hosting the group. She's hosting Kiarna and Tia, which is true. I really think that Angel should not have agreed to being the host of this trip if she was not going to have them at like some resort. Or I also had the idea with those 36 acres of land, it would have been cool if she set up like an actual like glamping kind of camping trip there, or got one of those or those pods that people are now into buying. Because to be honest, you're the host, meaning that you need to be making sure that everybody is okay, but you can't do that when you're an hour and 30 minutes away, because we find out that they're 35 miles away and it's an hour and 30 minutes. And I was like, ooh, Angel. Now I'm starting to realize that the reason in which Angel messed up the booking, or maybe Bobby messed up the booking, but they really didn't mess up, is they extended filming. I forgot about that. When Karen got out of jail, they extended filming. So she probably had the right dates, and then they probably needed to figure out how to like make the season better to a certain extent. So they did this Colorado trip. I just feel like she shouldn't have hosted. If she wasn't gonna try to find like a mansion that had like concierge service on hand like Marlo did during season, was it 15 or was it 14? I think it was 15. I don't know. I think it was either 15 or 14, where they were all at that house, and Married to Medicine was at the same house in the woods in Georgia. Yeah, was it Georgia? I think it was Georgia. Or potentially, no, I don't think it was Alabama. I think it was Georgia. In Georgia, and it had concierge service, but everybody had a room. So I just think if Angel didn't have the capacity to do that, then maybe she should have told production, I'm not confident that I can host this trip the way that y'all want me to. So we see them pull up to Angel's house. It's really nice. A lot of people were pointing out how Bobby rushed out the house to come get Angel because it was raining. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think that was that chivalrous to me, because he left Tia and Kiarna in the car for dead. I'm sorry. And I'm not like trying to admonish Bobby's character, but I was just looking at how everyone was like, oh my God, Bobby's such a man. And I was like, he left the other women for dead. And I don't like that, because to me, I want my man to treat my friends and other women with respect, even if they are not attracted to them, or even if they don't completely know them. And I just felt like the way in which I've seen my dad, when it's raining like that, go and get my mom, but he'll tell her friends like, hey, I'll be back for you guys. I'm also going to bring an extra umbrella if you ready to get out the car. Or he'll just be like, hey, here's the umbrella. Y'all get out the car and I'll bring the bags in. But like, he wouldn't just leave them stranded in the car. And I think I'm also denoting my experience, because there's oftentimes I have been the third wheel when it comes to like my friends dating. And there have been boyfriends that have always like looked out for me. And even when my friends have broken up with them, I've always been like, he was solid. Because there have been times where I've been hanging out with my girlfriends and their boyfriends be like, hey, do you want me to get you something? And they find out that I'm hanging out with them, and they like, does Leah want something? And I'd be like, well, yeah, get me this and I'll cash app you the money. And they like, girl, you don't need to cash app me nothing. What do you want? So I was just like, maybe I just might I don't know if my standards are too high, or that's just maybe how I don't even think my standards are too high. That's what I expect out of a man if I'm with him. Okay. We're just gonna leave it there. So we get into the house. Their house is really nice. I will say though, I need a little bit more color. And I'm not even talking about like crazy colors, but clearly y'all know one of my favorite colors is yellow. Yellow is like a very bright color, but I also like yellow because it is a mood shifter. Like when I see yellow, it does make me happy. It does kind of relax me. So I like having yellow in in different rooms. So like yellow, I like blues, burgundies really eat, as well as like green. But I'm not talking about like dark greens. I mean like an olive green, like a rich green, And it was a lot of gray. And I said we need to switch that up. But the rooms that they have for the ladies are nice. Tia is happy that she is with Angel and enjoying her accommodations. And we also see Kiarna's room. We then go back to the other ladies and they start talking about, what are we gonna do with all? No, Stacy was like, what are we gonna do with all this liquor in this house? Because if y'all leave, because Gizelle is still reiterating that she wants to leave. And I said, girl, if you gonna leave then, okay? But she's like, I'm ready to go. So then Wendy ends up saying, guys, this is going to be like top one worst trip. And I said, girl, doing chicken shit bingo should have been your top one worst trip. Y'all was in that bar inhaling ammonia and cigarette smoke and beer fumes. No, ma'am. Okay, no, ma'am. So we see that it is time for Angel's welcome mixer. And she has invited family and friends over. They have an oxygen bar. They got a nice spread of food. They have a bartender. And they also have a chef, catering the meal. So she is ready to show the ladies that she got the money and the coins, and let y'all know who I am. So we also see the rest of the ladies on their way to Angel and Bobby's house. They're split up into 2 cars. It took them an hour to get to Angel's house, and I said, ooh, Angel, girl. I would kind of be irritated too. I would. Like, we got off the plane to drive an hour from the airport to the Airbnb to now drive an hour to your house, and then I'm gonna have to get back in the car to drive back there. I would be over it. Low key, I probably wouldn't even want to go to the mixer. I probably wouldn't even want to do none of that. So and Angel, we got to talk about you and Bobby's friends, because I got some choice words for them men, especially that bald-headed one of them. Okay? So we see a conversation happening in the car that has Jazzy, Stacy, and Monique. Monique is leaving a voice note to her son because he called her crying and upset. It sounds like he was suffering from heat exhaustion. She ends up asking him, like, where are you? Like, what's going on? But there's no communication with Chris. So then Jazzy ends up asking, like, was your divorce kind of messy? And Monique was like, well, no, it just seems like he didn't think that I was going to divorce him. And I did, which if you do watch Love and Marriage DC, you could tell that Chris did not believe that Monique was going to divorce him. Like, he thought that he was finally changing, that she would be like okay with it. But if you go back and watch the show, you can clearly tell that she was tapped out. And that nothing he did, whether it was what she wanted, was going to be good enough, because she was tired of him. And it should not, in her mind, taken him that long to start fulfilling her needs the way that she asked him to. So we then see in the other car, it's Gizelle, Ashley, and Wendy. And while they're in the car, Wendy is like, well, I'm glad you guys didn't leave. And Giselle's like, yeah, girl, I'm kind of over this. But Ashley is like, well, yeah, I am too. I think the best part of the trip is going to be when we're all hanging out with each other. And they're like, yeah. So then Ashley and Jazzy both notice all of the houses that they're driving past. And Ashley in her car is like, you telling me they couldn't find no Airbnb out here? And then Jazzy ends up looking up Airbnbs and finds a place that has 8 bedrooms and sleeps 20 people in Denver, Colorado. So they're just like, what is this? Like, what's going on? Now, I've seen conflicting stories online. I've seen some people say that this is production's fault because they picked this house for the ladies. But then I've also seen them say that production gave Angel a list of homes and she picked the home. So I don't really know what to believe, but I put the blame on both Angel and production, because like I said, if Angel wasn't up to task to hosting this trip, she should have never agreed to it, and production should have never agreed to have the ladies separate or be in houses that far apart from each other, because that's taxing on the producers and it's also taxing on the ladies. So they're just like, wow. So then Jazzy brings up how Angel has a lot of emotional reactions, whether the situation is big or small. And then Monique is like, well, that's probably because she got a lot of stuff going on. Because I know that because I've been there. She was like, I can confidently say that because I've been in her same shoes. She goes on to say that it is hard when you have a partner that's not pulling their weight, that it starts to weigh on you. And I said, Monique, you out of order because you don't know that lady. You just met Angel like 5 minutes ago. Why are you psychoanalyzing her relationship and comparing yours to hers? Like, why are you doing that? Because when they brought up your marriage, you were spitting bullets, like my daddy would say. You was pissed. So why would you think, if you're saying that Angel reminds you of the situation you were in, that you think she would be okay with you talking about her relationship in such a way? Like, you crossing the line, lady. So you then hear Jazzy in her confessional saying, as a wag, I said, girl, you just became a wag 5 seconds ago. She was like, I have not experienced that, or I don't experience that. But I also don't know if I would be okay with a woman comparing her ex-husband to my husband. So I'm gonna just sit here and be quiet, okay? So then Stacey is like, well, girl, I'm gonna just let you know, like, she don't play about her man. So be careful. Like, girl, be careful, because she is sensitive about her man. And Monica's like, I know that because I was the same way. I feel like what we're watching in a roundabout way is some like wags, like hierarchy situation happening. And the reason why I say that is I don't understand why Monique is so comfortable speaking on Angel's marriage, other than one, she wants camera time, but two, it's giving like, girl, I'm a wag. Like, and I've told y'all this before, as someone who watched WAGs, Miami, LA, and Atlanta, there is a hierarchical structure when it comes to the WAG world. Wives are at the top, then it's girlfriends, and everybody else is down below. But even if a wife gets a divorce or a girlfriend breaks up, like a girl breaks up with her boyfriend, they can still get treated with respect, similar to the title that they already had, based off of the success and the respect that their exes have and how long you've been married to that man. Like, if Jackie Christie and Doug Christie broke up, Jackie would still be revered as a wag because she was with Doug Christie for that long. So I feel like Monique is this comfortable doing this because she's like, I'm pulling rank because I've been a wag much longer than Angel. I could be thinking too much into this because, I overthink things. But it kind of feels like what Angel did to Jazzy when she was trying to let Jazzy know what her husband does, So the girls pull up to Angel's house. Everyone is talking about how lovely everything looks. Monique is like, oh, I'm loving this energy. This feels really good from you, Angel. You starting to irritate me, Monique. It don't take much with you, okay? And so Ashley says in her confessional, clearly there's no lack of land here. So why didn't we live on the property or stay on the property? And then Stacey says in her confessional is probably because Bobby won't allow it. Because they're starting to tell that Bobby don't really like them like that. So then Ashley ends up bringing Angel a crystal. And I said, girl, you might want to throw that in the ground, maybe bury it, throw some holy water on it, put some blessed oil on it. Because getting anything from Ashley Darby might have demons in the spirit of chaos and confusion. Okay? Keep that energy out your house, lady. So they go into the house and Angel is showing everybody all this stuff around. And she's also like, Gizelle, I'm so excited because we got, mezcal here for you because we know that's what you like to drink. And I say, see, Angel, that's why I got a problem with you. Because it's hard for me to look at you as a victim when you are still kissing ass because you want to be a part of the clique. Like, that's hard for me. Because Gizelle has disrespected you not once, not twice, like multiple times to your face. And yet and still, you don't give her the same smoke you give Wendy. Yet and still, you won't raise your voice the same you raised your voice at Ashley. When Gizelle should be the main person getting the brunt of your ire. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I don't know if Gizelle ate a devil fruit. I don't know what kind of hockey or nin ability. I don't know if she made a wish on the Dragon Balls, but the way in which the girls gravitate and want to be underneath Big Sister Gizelle is beyond me. Even when she disrespects them openly with her full chest. Then we hear Stacey say that Angel is more happy to see Gizelle than Bobby. And I would have to agree. I do. I don't think Stacey is lying about the way that Angel is behaving around Gizelle. So we actually see the ladies partaking in the oxygen bar and being goofy and taking pictures. Then Angel decides to introduce the ladies to these three other men sitting around the fire pit with Bobby. When I tell you this was not a good look, it was not a good look. Now, I saw a comment on Twitter where somebody said that Angel was on Threads. I do not have a Threads account, but they said that Angel was on Threads talking about how some of her guests were camera shy, but then she came back up and followed up and said that they had filmed that scene 3 times and people were exhausted. And I said, girl, you're making this worse, because to me, that makes these men look even worse if that is true. That they filmed this scene 3 times and they still gave this weirdo energy. Like, what? Are you serious? Like, I have seen my aunts and uncles teach their sons, when women enter the room, you stand up and you greet them. And for me, I've always been taught, when you enter a room, you acknowledge everybody by saying hello, hi, you introduce yourself, and you keep it pushing. The fact that they were just sitting there, and my thing about it is, y'all's government names were on the screen and Angel was introducing y'all as businessmen. I was like, this would make me never want to do business with y'all, because if this is a reflection of how you behave, girl, I'm not about to get labeled with that. Uh-uh. So we meet some guy named Jason. He was the one sitting next to Bobby with the red cap. She's like, he has a nonprofit organization that seeks for diversity and outdoors. Then we get to Ben Milk Dud headed ass puffing, like he was puffing on that cigar. I said, I hope you choke on that smoke. I hope you choke on it. Cause he's sitting there and he gave the stankiest energy out of all the men sitting there. She was like, oh, this is Ben Dankins. He's a high profile, net worth wealth advisor. He works with people that, that have billions, that's, with the B's, not the M's. And then she was like, he's also a partner in Wanderlust Outdoors. And he's just puffing on that cigar. And I was like, And then you hear Wendy being like, these men are not interested in us. Like, they are not interested in us. Then they're like, oh, this is AJ. This is Nina's husband. And you hear Gizelle say, who the hell, like, who is Nina? Who is Nina? And Kiana's like, I don't know. Ben just puffing away, thinking he flexing on the girls. And you have Stacey saying, like, girl, this feel like something on Get Out. And this moment fell flat because it felt like Angel was trying to introduce these women to these men as a way to flex, being like, this is the type of company I keep. But it made them look bad because these men embarrassed y'all. Because as someone who, I would say, I grew up very privileged, in the sense that I grew up middle class, and then I went to high school with like millionaire kids. Like, these kids were living in like $5 to like $30 million houses, like riding the bus with us. When everyone got the opportunity to start being able to drive to school, they rolling up to school in Bentleys, like Range Rovers. Like, one girl had, like, when Transformers was like a really big thing, she had the Bumblebee car. And it had the Transformers emblem on it, and the way that the football team was going up for her. So I'm just like, I've been around people with money, especially in high school. And what that told me and taught me was like, just because you have money, that does not impress me. So if your energy is stank and nasty, I'm going to treat you accordingly. And I just do not understand why Angel did not tell her friends, if you don't stand up and greet these women, because I would have gave Bobby the death glare to check his boys. Because what you're not about to do is embarrass me on national TV. Like, girl, what? And then, because of how nasty they were being, I get on TikTok. Why are they looking up these people's Instagram accounts and found out that Ben with the bald head, who I want to choke on cigar smoke, is married to a white woman? So now there's this narrative out there that that's why he was acting that way, because he views black women as beneath him. He probably don't even feel that way, but because you showed up on camera with stank-a-dank energy, now there's a narrative out there that you hate black women. Like, y'all, like, I don't, people are dumbasses, bro. Dumb. So end up going like away from the house, further down the lawn, where there's like a table set up for the ladies to eat and start talking. So the next thing we have is a lady sitting at the table, and Monique being like, "This is so lovely, Angel, and I really like this energy you have going on." She's getting on my nerves. Okay, and I don't even see it for Angel like that. And so Jazzy ends up asking, "Did you not like her energy before?" And Monique was like, "No, I really didn't." And then Gizelle adds in there like, "Yeah, I didn't like her energy before either." And so Angel ends up apologizing, but not really. She was like, "I'm sorry you felt that way, because I'm sorry. My bad, but you're here now and we're going to have a good time." So as they're sitting at the table, Gizelle ends up asking Angel, "Girl, why did you pick a house that's an hour and a half away from here?" And then Giselle's like, you're telling me there was no other houses around?" And Angel basically says that it's the high seasons for Colorado. And Giselle's like, "I don't care if it's the high, the low, whatever season, like we shouldn't be that far apart." And you could tell that Angel didn't know how to respond to that. Then Gizelle says, "Girl, the house is whack because we don't even have water." So in the confessional, Gizelle is explaining that the water keeps going on and off, and they actually show like a picture of the sink, and like they try to turn the faucets, but it's nothing coming out. So Giselle's like, "We need the basic amenities. We need water." So Angel's like, "Okay, I got you. We're going to figure this out." So she's like, "I'm going to call the homeowners," in the confessional, because she was like, "It's not right that they don't have water. Like, we need to rectify this situation immediately because everyone deserves water, even Gizelle and Ashley." So then the conversation continues on with Gizelle bringing up the beef between Tia and Stacy, which I low-key forgot, okay? So we find out at the Potomacs and Ponies event, Gizelle had Tia and Stacy do like the sack racing together. And so I think it was Ashley that ends up asking, like, "Where are you guys at now? Like, has your relationship improved?" And it seems like they're nowhere. So Stacy ends up saying, "I don't have an issue with Tia because I honestly don't know Tia like that." And Tia's like, "That's rich coming from you." And Stacy's like, "Honestly, Tia, when I first met you, I thought you were very level-headed and a neutral person, and I wanted to get to know you." She continues on by saying that it took a lot for me to have you around my family, and then you like flipped on me like very swiftly. So they flash back to when Tia meets Timu and Arabella at her swim practices. We also see when she busts her out to Wendy on the double date, and then when they get into it at the Reasonably Shady event, and Tia's like, "Don't let the accent fool you," okay? And so Stacy goes on to say that, "I feel like you jumped on the Stacy hate train." And then in the confessional, Stacy's like, "When Angel's sad, Tia is on her side." She then says, "If Gizelle hates me, but then again, Gizelle does hate me, she's going to be with Giselle's side either way. She's going to support her." She was like, "I'm hoping eventually Tia will grow a backbone." And I will say, Tia has faded into the background when they do group scenes, because it does feel like she's up underneath Gizelle and Ashley. Whereas when we first got to know her, I feel like she was standing out more because she was still filling everybody out. Her personal scenes are good, but she might fall into the category of not really being needed. And I'm like, no, she seems like a good fit for this show. So I need her to come alive. And the way in which Kiarna kind of clocked Tia when they were at the house before they were going on the private jet to Aspen to go to Kemosabe, she told Tia, "Girl, stand up." And Tia's response was like, "Okay, Gizelle." Like, it's given they know that you just like roll over when it comes to Gizelle. So then Tia basically says that her issue with Stacy is everything that everyone has said about Stacy seems to be true. She also feels like Stacy doesn't know who she is, and Stacy misrepresents herself. And then she uses this example of when Kay was telling everybody else that Stacy was talking to Monique's ex. And so Tia's like, well, I asked Stacy, does she like, how do you know this man? And she told me she didn't know him. And I'm like, Tia, this shows me you don't really have beef with Stacy. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think Tia has a right to be frustrated with Stacy because she feels like Stacy lied to her. And in a roundabout way, Stacy did lie. But the energy that Tia had at the Reasonably Shady event gave like she was posturing towards the ladies to show them that she will discard Stacy to be a part of the majority of the group. And this moment that she's using about Chris, and I'm like, why are we bringing Chris up again? Monique doesn't have a problem with it. So why are you using this again? It feels like they want to force Stacy to be like, yeah, I was bouncing on that, you know what, doing reverse cowgirl, when she's repeated multiple times that she does not know that man. They're only social friends. What is so hard for y'all to understand about that? So they flash back and you see Tia asking Stacy, how do you know Chris? And Stacy is like, oh girl, we're social friends. Like I've met him, out and about. That's how we know each other. And so Stacy's like, haven't I made it clear that like I know Chris, but I don't know him like that? And so Gizelle's like, well, that's before you said you didn't know it and know him, and then you admitted it. So Tia's like, what I'm trying to say is, Stacy, you're a liar. And so then Monique jumps into the conversation and she said, well, I spoke to Stacy and Stacy denies ever speaking to Chris. Stacy goes on to say that if the person that this is supposed to be bothering doesn't have an issue with it, why do you have an issue? And I was like, Stacy has a point. She has a point. So Tia's like, if you're gonna lie, you should be a good liar. That's when Stacy's like, girl, you're a liar. So she's like, I don't get how when it comes to me, all this prim and proper energy drops with you. And you get the screaming and raising your voice and swearing. And Tia's like, I'm still prim and proper. And I'm like, no, you not, sis. Because you do get loud in your voice and in your chest with Stacy. And she's like, I don't get it with you. And so that's when Tia's like, you agitate my spirit. And she was like, I dislike liars. And I'm looking at Tia like, what has she done that agitates your spirit that bad, ma'am? Like, what has she done, Tia? You doing too much right now. And Gizelle's like, oh, I like that. I'm going to start saying, you agitate my spirit. I said, shut up, Gizelle. Shut up. So then Stacy said, well, girl, stay over there, aggravated and all. So then Monique starts talking about, well, I do want to know potentially who said it because I'm starting to get letters about cease and desist and things of that nature. Stacy again has denied saying those things. But I'm like, why are we not looking at Kiarna, Gizelle, and Ashley? We found out that they cool with inflatable sized titties cookies. Cookie don't like Stacy. Cookie don't like you, Monique. And she really wants to be, with your ex-husband. So why is it so hard to believe that Cookie was the one that got the information from Gizelle, Ashley, or Kiarna and ran it back to Chris? The conversation pivots, and that is when Angel lets them know that they're going to be flying to Aspen tomorrow, going to Kimosabi. Everyone's like, what's Kimosabi? And I was like, girl, if you watch Beverly Hills, you know. Basically where they make the really nice cowboy hats, and there's also a bar in there. So everybody's getting super duper excited. We then have the ladies sitting around this fire pit, and things get a little awkward because Kiarna brings up like, hey, why don't we keep the party going and have a pajama party? And Monique is like, oh my gosh, that would be great. That would definitely be great for us to do that. So she was like, would you ladies mind like packing a bag and coming with us to have a pajama party? So then Angel ends up saying, I need to check in with Bobby because he was not slated to do like nightly duties by himself. He's had the kids all day. So then Monique is like, well, girl, that's dad duties. Like, he'll be fine. And then Angel did that hand like, girl, like, don't. And so then Kiarna's in the confessional saying that was a nice way and a soft way of telling Monique, shut up when you talking about my man, and I'm creating a boundary with you. So then after that happens, Angel kicks them out. And I'm like, Angel, this is lame. It's 7:30. We on a girls trip. Are you serious? Are you serious? So then they're all like, not us getting kicked out. And Wendy is like, I guess class is dismissed, honey. So we see the ladies leaving Angel's house. We also see this conversation with Bobby. And I said, Angel, you have to stop doing this. Because it's clear that Angel does want to be a part of the Real Housewives of Potomac, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I definitely think she should come back. I feel like they're going to bring her back for a season 2. But you have to stop running back to your husband with a stank attitude, crying all the time, if you're still going to participate on this show. Because the energy that he had at Watch What Happens Live is he don't want no parts of this. He doesn't want any parts of this, because he's like, you not going with them? And she's like, no, like, I don't really want to be with them. Like, I thought this was enough, and we gonna be together all day tomorrow. And so Bobby ends up saying, well, if you don't want to go, then don't go. And she's like, well, I'm a breastfeeding mother. Cut the crap, Angel. Pump that titty milk, put it in the freezer, and get in the field. Get in the field, Angel. So on the ride home, we see a conversation taking place with Stacey, Gizelle, and Ashley in the car. And they're all talking about how they had a decent time at Angel's house, but Gizelle ends up being like, y'all don't think it's weird that she had to ask her husband if she could come hang out with us? And I'm like, that's not what she did. But I will say, though, Angel also has to stop using her husband as like her get out of jail free card, because it does lend to a narrative that your husband could be potentially controlling, or you're being overworked at the house because you can't leave that man alone with his kids. Now, I don't think that's the case, but I'm like, girl, that's how you know that Angel is green to reality TV, because I'm just kind of like, you got to stop using Bobby for the scapegoat, girl. Because even Ashley clocked it, where she was like, Angel uses Bobby as her security blanket. And then Stacey is like, she uses Bobby when she doesn't want to like hang out with us. And then Ashley said that I honestly believe that if she doesn't have a good time tomorrow, she's not going to come and do the pajama party at the house. She's not going to hang out with us. So it gets dark. Like, they in the country, they in the woods. Stacey makes a comment where she's like, girl, this is the type of area when your car break down, you don't get out of the car. And it's black. It is black outside. I said, girl, be careful with the deers and the mountain lions and the coyotes. And everybody is getting like scared. You hear them saying like, girl, this is absurd. Like, and they left Angel's house like around 7:30. They didn't get back to their house until 9 o'clock. So we got Ashley with a new confessional. This is all right. It's all right. She's like scared, and she's just like, this is a lot going on. So then when they get back to the house, they don't have any running water. I said, oh girl, that would have sent me. That would have sent me. And Giselle's in her confessional saying, girl, I don't have water to wash the bacteria off my body. I'm over it. So then the screen goes black, and then it opens up, and it's 9 a.m. the next day. And Stacey's like praying to God saying, girl, please let us have water. And she turns it on, and the water comes out, and she's gasping like, oh my gosh, girl, we got water. You then see Ashley downstairs watching Monique eat breakfast. And Ashley's like, girl, has anybody texted you? Like, has anyone checked up on us? And Monique is like, girl, no, nobody's checked. No one cares what's going on with us. They left us for dead. So Ashley says that everybody was going to Stacey's room trying to get water. Like trying to wash their bodies and everything. And what it sounds like is the house may have like a water limit, because it seems as though after everybody washes and does what they need to do, it immediately cuts off by the end of the episode. And I said, girl, that would have pissed me off. I need water. I need to wash my hot spots. I don't like it. I don't like feeling dirty. I do not like feeling dirty. So then Ashley said, we started Googling how to turn the water on, and we found out it was like some circuit breaker. The chef came by and he turned the water on for us, but we didn't have water for like hours, for like 2 hours. So the air conditioning ain't working either. It's like 90 degrees in their house. So Monique is complaining about waking up with a swollen face and her nose running. Then Gizelle comes in the room and she's like, that's what happened to her the other day. And she's just like, yeah, I'm gonna find us some accommodations. Cause this ain't it. Stacy comes down the steps and she's like, y'all, I'm trying my best to be like positive, but this is a lot going on. In the confessional, Stacy is like, girl, is she trying to off us? She's like, you got us in the woods, girl, and you know how the movies go. They always kill the nice, pretty girl. That's gonna be me. And I cackled. I cackled. So then Gizelle is demonstrating how she had to wash her body in the tub because it seems like water wasn't coming out of the shower head. And it was just enough water for her to like get some water and like just splash her coochie. I said, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. So then the screen flashes and we're over at Angel's house and it's all serene and nice and beautiful. And the rest of the ladies, they have woken up happy. Angel is still trying to like get on a good foot. You got Kiarna saying no sour pussies, telling Tia to stand up to Gizelle and, you know, wash off all the energy that happened the other day because they're going to have a good trip. Angel says in her confessional, she contacted the homeowners when she realized the water wasn't working. And Tia feels bad for Angel because she feels like the women are waiting with like nails to her coffin. Like she can't really do anything right. So then that's when they're in the car on their way to the, I guess, either the airport or to the Airbnb where the other ladies are out at. Angel lets it be known that Jazzy texted her letting her know that there's no like, girl, they ain't got no water. And so they showed the text message of her telling them, girl, we don't have any water. And so they're like, they don't have water again. And then Kiarna's like, well, why would they wait to tell you that they don't have water? But I'm also like, what could you have done at 9 p.m. at night to get them water, you know? And so, but I do think that if you're going to be the host, you should have checked in with everybody in the morning. They shouldn't be texting you. You should be texting them. You supposed to be the hostess with the mostest. So then Gizelle says, girl, we getting up out of here. And they're talking to Jazzy and Jazzy is like, so what we doing? And Gizelle's like, girl, we're leaving. And Jazzy said, girl, let me zip up my bag. So I'm on the next sprinter out of here. Okay. So she's like, in the confessional, Gizelle's like, Angel has a trip for us to go to Aspen today. I'm going to let Angel know how miserable she has failed with this trip. We then see Stacy going to like wash her hands again and the water isn't working. And you hear somebody say, bitch, are you serious? And she was like, girl, we are in America. We need water. We need water. So then back in the car with Angel and the rest of the ladies, she lets it be known that Jazzy told her that Monique has been talking about her relationship with Bobby and trying to bring parallels. And Angel's like, girl, I don't like that. Kiarna and Tia co-sign saying like, that's not, Monique's place. Like, granted, you're recently divorced, but that's not your place. And then Angel ends up saying that the only thing that we have in common is that our husbands played in the NFL. And like, this is what we not about to do. She also says that the women are like, I guess, threatened or don't like to see people in happy relationships. And to imply that my relationship is anything other than happy is just evil. That's like, it's just evil. So then we see the other ladies in the car. So I guess they're not meeting up with them in the car heading to the airport. And Monique is still talking about, you know, the relationship, but she's more specifically talking about Angel when she did her hand like this to Monique, like, girl, let's not. And they're like, oh, she did her hand like that towards you. And she's like, yeah. And she was like, I think she was triggered when I said, or I got triggered when she said that her husband were going to watch the kids. Like, I feel like she's not really getting a lot of help at home. And like, she might be at her wit's end. How do you know that? You don't know that. You're projecting, Monique. You're projecting. So basically, Angel said that she gonna crash out when she confronts Monique. And I said, girl, crash out. But I doubt it. You are very slow to react, Angel. And it's a disappointment because in this moment, especially with Monique, you have every right to cuss that lady out and tell her to mind her locks and her oils and her juices and berries.